all know Mike Rowe from the show Dirty Jobs and the other one, Somebody's Gotta Do It. Well, Mike's got a great new show called The Story Behind the Story, airing Saturday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on TBN. And it debuts this weekend right after the show. It's a good show. You're going to love it. I promise you will. We recently caught up with Mike to chat about the genesis of this new show. Mike, this new series that you're doing is so very exciting. The story behind the story. Tell us about the background. How did this idea come to you? Because you always have some great ideas. I think it's disgusting that you have so many of them. How did this one come?
Well, this one I can't take sole credit for. But about 5 years ago, when the podcast world sort of exploded, I thought, well, I should probably do something. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, so I started writing these short stories in the style of Paul Harvey, who I'm sure you'll remember did the rest
Absolutely.
of the story. I was writing stories you didn't know about people you do, with a surprise reveal at the end. And I was putting them up on my podcast platform, and I called it The Way I Heard It, and people liked it. And I kept writing them, mostly on planes to pass the time. And then one day, Matt Crouch over at TBN said to me, pulled me aside, we were working on Somebody's Got to Do It, which had been airing on Saturdays for a couple of years. And he said, I've been thinking about this new idea. What if I were to take your stories on the podcast and bring them to life visually? And I said, Matt, that's a terrible idea. It'll never work. These stories are made to be listened to, not watched.
Wrong thing to say to Matt Crouch, Mike.
Brother,
you never tell him it can't be done.
That is the thing. Now, you probably learned that a couple years ago. I just learned it for real because he vanishes for a couple of months.
Yeah.
I don't hear from him. And without my permission, without even talking to me, he takes 3 of my stories that I had read on a stage in an empty theater, and he brings these stories to life, and he shows them to me months later and says, what do you think? And I looked at him and I said, you're right, they're pretty good. What do you want to do with them? He said, I don't know. So we just started talking about the story behind the story, what I left out, what I put in, why I wrote what I wrote. And we realized, I think at the same time, we could probably do a show based on a conversation about the story I wrote on a plane that you brought to life with these recreations. And that's how it happened. And modesty aside, I agree with you. I think they're different, and I think they're pretty great.
There's that sense of mystery, though. And it's an intriguing part of the story. And you're right. It's parts of a person's life that no one's really heard much about. And I think that's what makes it so very riveting. One of the things that's going to happen after the story is told and the reveal comes is that you and Matt Crouch then will help to sort of give an understanding of what we learn from this story. There's more than just the story. Well, there's a lesson.
But the funny thing, Mike, is that was never on my mind. I wasn't trying to channel the Bible. I wasn't trying to write morality plays. I do run a foundation that awards work ethic scholarships, and I spend a lot of time talking about work ethic and delayed gratification, a positive attitude, personal responsibility. Those themes resonate with TBN, and whether I meant to or not, a lot of those themes find their way into these tales. Ruminations on persistence, for instance. Mad scientists trying to build a better mousetrap, whatever that may be. Great musicians finding inspiration in the most unlikely of places. Those are the things that I want to share. And while it's difficult to talk about them in terms of promoting the show, it's really fun to unpack them with a guy like Matt, who's not shy at all, as you may have noticed, about telling me why he thinks I wrote my story. It's pretty funny.
Gee, I've never noticed that about him before.
Right. Yeah, if we could just get him out of his shell, right, I think he's going to be
okay. Right. I think it's going to be a dynamite show. I'm so thrilled that it is following the Huckabee Show on Saturdays on TBN for the simple reason that I think there are going to be a lot of people tuning into your show. They'll tune in early, and they'll catch at least the latter part of it. That's wonderful.
Governor, I couldn't ask for a better lead-in. Thank you.
Well, no, it's a wonderful 1-2 punch. I think we're all excited about it. I certainly am. And it's going to be a hit, Mike. Thank you for visiting with us about it.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you again.
Mike Rowe's new series, The Story Behind the Story, airs Saturday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on TBN. Stick around after Huckabee or set those DVRs. A lot more information is available at Huckabee.tv.